Here's a story that has a little something for both Amir and I. Space for me and sperm for Amir. After hurtling around the planet for 9 months, freeze-dried mouse sperm exposed to the harsh environment of space have successfully produced litters of healthy baby mice. So obviously this brings questions about how are we going to reproduce if the final frontier really is in space. And like Elon Musk has said, we could be having colonies on Mars by 2060. So the tricky part is that people and animals in space are exposed to both reduced gravity and high energy cosmic particles that can easily damage genetic material, which is why being able to freeze dry the mouse sperm and then injecting it in living mice on Earth and then making them have little sperm mouse babies is such good news for the future of the human race, because in deep space, on the moon, or even on Mars, gravity is much weaker and radiation is much more of a danger. So far, scientists have studied how a handful of organisms reproduce in space, including rats, fish, salamanders, and sea urchins.
Sea urchins?
Sea urchins.
I'm sure they eat a lot of uni up there.
I kind of just thought they existed. They were like beyond reproduction, you know? They just
sea urchins?
Yeah, that they just sort of outsmarted all of us. Thought they just sort of, you know,
they're not plants.
And there's more.
No.
The results are mixed. Rats didn't manage to produce pups at all during a 1979 experiment conducted on the Russian
That was
cosmos.
in 1979. They didn't know anything back then.
However, sea urchin sperm also didn't do so well. Fish, fruit flies, and nematodes did successfully reproduce.
Fish? I wonder like how
yeah,
they live. Like, did they like the water?
So many questions.
Yeah,
so many questions. So this most recent experiment is one that certainly hasn't been done before in the progression of the reproduction in space studies. Their concept or their thought is by freeze drying the sperm, they can basically stop the metabolism of the sperm, and they can in some ways minimize some of the radiation damage that's occurring to the sperm because they're basically frozen in time. Which brings me to their conclusion that I'm very excited to get your opinion of in the comment section below. This research team suggests that once the technology for storing biological samples in space is perfected, libraries of sperm from various earthly critters could be kept on board a spaceship or in a lunar lava tube to act both as a failsafe in case of total catastrophe on this planet and as a recipe book for producing familiar forms of life beyond Earth. Sperm libraries.
Yeah.
I think this is absolutely the future.
It is. At the same time, from like an alien's point of view, this is terrible.
What do you mean?
We're just like packing these spaceships full of our sperm and like our biology, and we want to like send it off onto other planets and like spread it.
This to me is just the Noah's Ark of the future.
Yeah.
That's literally, they're just gonna get sperm. This is what I think is gonna happen.
This is the sperm of the future. This is basically Earth just jerking off into space.
I'm sure they
just busting a load out there. That's what we're doing. That's like what we've been destined to do, and it's happening now. We're witnessing it. It's amazing.
I unfortunately think you have somewhat of a point there.
Think about it, like from outside, Earth is just like one biological thing,
right?
With many parts.
One big organism.
Yeah, and one big orgasm just waiting to happen.
I mean, look, I think this is really interesting because I would like to think that in our lifetime we will see life existing and a new life beginning on another planet.
So cool.
Some sort of a Mars colony or something like that. I think with the rate of climate change going on this planet, it's something that we will have to face, that we are already facing. It's already happening. So hearing about how they're planning for these sperm libraries and how are we going to populate future planets and how is reproduction going to work is a question that I hadn't really thought about before, that I'm happy to know scientists are actively dealing with, because to me I'd always thought about just sort of the technological boundaries. So okay, we have to create somewhere where we can have the right sort of gravity to grow plants, but I'd never thought about, all right, but how are we going to reproduce and how are other species going to reproduce? And this is a vibrant ecosystem, and how will we bring some of that to space, to Mars? Is that even possible? So this experiment is very cool.
It's possible. It's still kind of out there, because if we want to do anything with Mars, you got to terraform it first, and that's going to take a very long time, and we are just not there yet.
What is your prediction then? Where do you think we will be by 2060?
I think 100 years.
100 years?
We'll have at least begun terraforming Mars.
But I think our planet is already gonna be in shambles by that time.
See, here's the thing, I'm all for what we're trying to do in space and trying to like make it so we can live out in space. If we could put all of that effort just back into Earth and fix what we already know works. Like we have a planet here that works that we're fucking up. Why don't we fix that before we go do all the space shit?
Do you know why I think that is? It's because there's so much red tape and bureaucracy to get our planet back in the right shape that it needs to be in. There's still people you have to convince that climate change exists.
Yeah, that's sad.
You don't have to do that in space.
There's less red tape in space.
There's kind of, there's sort of, I would think, an intellect and intelligence cutoff when it comes to space. I highly doubt that there are rocket scientists and space engineers that don't believe in climate change. So I think that for those scientists, it's easier for them to just, all right, let's work on the next frontier because we're not making enough progress fast enough here on Earth. So they look to the stars.
Yeah, we'd rather do this impossible mission than to save the planet that is already working. It sucks, but it's true.
But hey, space mice exist here on Earth. Guys, we want to hear from you in the comment section below. What do you think about space sperm, space mice, space in general, the final frontier, Star Trek? Tell us all about it in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and Amir and I will see you next time on Pop Trigger.